Hello and welcome back to the Chatter's Invitational game. I am caster Mighty Benaya, and I'm going to go through several of the nations, several of the updates that have happened. There's not a ton that's happened since yesterday, but there are a few significant updates we want to look at. Russian Yakutia has taken this territory and lost Kushiro. So it's interesting that they are continuing to try to invade south. And they are having some success, but Japan is putting up quite the fight. They do, in fact, have right of way with Far Eastern Republic, as I've seen several troops come through that area, and they are moving south to try to take out the islands. It will be really difficult for them to be able to land and capture these fortified islands with more troops than the four infantry and one cavalry that Russian Yakutia is sporting. But it could be that he's interested in, at the very least, exploring and seeing where all Japan is, where his troops are. It will also be difficult for them to make their way any further south with the paltry number of forces that they have currently available to attack Japan. However, Siberian Tanker is up here with a lot of territory where he can generate more troops. And it doesn't look like, if we'll switch to the morale map briefly, it doesn't look like he has any border provinces that he has recently captured. So all of his troops are available to be devoted to conquering Japan. So we may see larger forces gather down through Far Eastern Republic for an invasion. But at this point, it looks like the conquering that Russian Yakutia is able to do is coming to a bit of a standstill until artillery and cruisers come online. Moving farther south, Dutch East India is all but destroyed. They have 3 provinces left. Most provinces have been captured by either Australia, by Mindanao Command, or potentially the Republic of Philippines. These territories were captured. Let me go back real briefly to relations. These 3 territories were captured back. So it looks like the war in the South Pacific is starting to wrap up in not necessarily wrap up in its entirety, but it is definitely one-sided at this point. We know that the pirates are likely going to win. My only question is, will the Philippines join the pirates, or will they maintain independency throughout? Let's briefly look at the coalitions. Pirates of Australia, they're losing points, but they are still at the top of the game. Lion's Den is slowly gaining momentum. They are all at about the same level. Pirates is in third. So we do not see the Philippines in the number 1 ranked coalition, the Pirates of Australia. That could be intentional. They could be avoiding, or it could be that the Pirates of Australia have their sights set on additional territory in the Philippines and want to reserve their last spot for someone farther abroad so that there isn't competition over land. As we move further, let's briefly talk about Mongolia. And I'm going to switch back to morale map for this. This is something that's concerning to me. Mongolia has really bad morale, and they haven't made any significant moves. Obviously, they have stored their troops up, and they have garrisoned against invaders. They have double oil, double iron. What they do not have a lot of is food. So what is happening here is they are suffering morale due to a shortage in food. That gives me significant concerns that they will go AI soon. We are several hours after day change, and they are still in the game. But my concern is that without continued support to all of their provinces, without watching your resources closely, your morale plummets, which makes it more difficult to win fights. So morale is just as important as having defended provinces. And my concern is that Calamiser, no, MS is very difficult to say. My concern is that this individual has briefly left the game or has not paid attention to it, and his morale is suffering for it. As we move south to Madras, Madras is held on valiantly, defending against New Delhi. There is no real change in the lines. The only thing that is being changed, and I will switch back here momentarily, is the morale of the provinces, which really is going to be hurting British Bengal, New Delhi, more than it is going to be hurting Madras, because Madras's double tiles, which are valuable later in the game, but not as valuable right now. But they're further south. They have better morale, and this double iron is really, really valuable for British Bengal, and it's suffering because of the war that is raging between these two nations. All right, let's switch back to show relations, so we can continue on our merry way. Something that is not transpiring is up here, and this is an example counter to, and I'm just going to tell you instead of switching back and forth from the map. 99% morale, 100% morale here with Jerry. Jerry has not moved his troops at all, but he is maintaining the morale because he is balancing his resources well. He has lots of production, and I'm sure what is happening is he is selling it on the market, trading it for food, trading it for oil, which he is desperately lacking. And because he is managing his economy well, his morale is not suffering. What is concerning for me for Jerry is Jerry the restless mouse, I believe, ruthless mouse. What is concerning for me is at this stage in the game, we have factories that are being built. Artillery will be on the scene soon, and this is old rules. This is not the new update rules. So this is one of the last games that is going to be using the old rule format. And my concern is because he has not dared to expand at all, that morale that he has curated isn't going to be enough to carry him through to the mid and late game once somebody starts taking territories. In the new rule set, I think that is maybe not necessarily the case. It may be better to turtle up for a little bit longer because morale helps your production. But my concern with Jerry in this round is it may or may not be enough to carry him through. We'll see how that goes. He who went to Malta is still holding still. And as we move south, I have gas, which I believe is a reference to the resource, not flatulence, is holding fast. He has taken several territories. He and Anglo-Egyptian Sudan were able to take, there was a nation here, and they were able to take that out and garner some more resources. And as we move farther to the west, Richard Nixon has, who had a giant, yep, there it is, a giant toxic sign that nobody should go in this area. He apparently launched a nuclear missile in the middle of the ocean before, in the early 1900s, before nuclear weapons were invented. But he has continued to develop his economy with railroads. He has a harbor here, and he is building a factory. So it's safe to assume that he is going to try to build some cruisers to project power at a distance instead of building more artillery. Obviously, he will likely build some artillery, but he is likely going to try to focus his naval power, going to try to project his power across the world instead of staying at home. He did, of course, get right of way with, I believe, the Confederate States of America, and moved and took out a lot of the California Republic. They are still at war. However, there has been zero movement since yesterday. So it'll be interesting to see how that continues. It does look like this one territory has changed hands recently. So perhaps California Republic, let's take a look, only at war with the United States, and is trapped in these two these two provinces. So I didn't notice that yesterday. It may be that that is a recent change. Let's briefly look at morale. It does not look like that is a recent change. It looks like it has been there for a while. This is interesting, though. This is a Caribbean island republic who somehow got that province. One-Eyed Willie may have briefly been at war with someone, and then they may have been traded that province, actually. That might make a lot more sense. The United States took several territories. The California Republic was pushing back, and instead of giving the oil back, in order to deprive the United States of oil, in order to deprive Republic of California of oil, they gifted a province to One-Eyed Willie in order to facilitate better relations and prevent that province from being taken. That would be an interesting thing that could have happened. One-Eyed Willie, Captain Jack Sparrow, and Elizabeth Swann aren't making big moves right now, but Lelocurd has finally gotten into a war and is at war with Brazil, United States of Brazil. I'm not sure when war was declared. I tried to look for it and I did not see it. But Brazil is in the same coalition as Piratini over here, who recently gave me shared map. And we'll take a look at them. Piratini had their capital taken by Chile, and they have yet to even start another capital building. And that's something you really, really want to be careful with, because the capital building, it's expensive and it takes a long time to build. But it also gives you morale in all of your provinces. And I'm back on the morale map. It gives you morale on all of your provinces to increase the effectiveness of your troops. It increases your resource production so that you can have more troops. Low morale territories don't produce infantry as quickly. The recruiting center does not produce troops as quickly if it's lower morale. But if you've got 100% morale, it's almost like if you had a barracks in a low morale, a freshly taken province. So high morale is really, really important to have, especially if you are planning on or in a war anytime, in the near future. What Piratini has neglected to do is invest the resources in building a capital which mitigates morale loss from not having a capital. So my biggest suggestion to Piratini at this point would be to build your capital away from the front line, obviously, but build it somewhere you can protect it so that you can get that, you can negate that morale penalty. Chile has continued to move around Argentina. It looks as if Chile's goal is to flummox other players. Oh, this is where all of the Peruvian troops went. I just saw this. Okay. It looks like they went to attack this province and were thwarted. They've not lost anything, but it looks like Peru made a move because they have right-of-way and were outmaneuvered by Brazil. Chile is unlikely to get right-of-way from any AI, but it seems as if Lord Wolf / Pirates of the Chilean, their goal is to target players who would be competitive for them. So targeting nearby players that would potentially in the mid to late game threaten their domination of South America. I would be very cautious if I was Peru at this point. Peru and Chile have worked pretty substantially together. However, Chile also worked pretty substantially with Piratini. Not directly necessarily, but they had friendly cooperation. And now now Chile is moving in to take out Piratini. So were I Peru, I would I would speak softly and carry a big stick. I would make sure to always have your defenses up, because whenever you have your defenses down, that seems to be when Lord Wolf strikes the hardest. That is all that is happening in the Western Hemisphere. Coming back to my area, I am building a factory here. My plan is to build several artillery, defensive only, and then save up for several railguns, again defensive only, and then build airports elsewhere for fighters to protect my land. I am fully aware that I will likely be targeted at some point, and it is my intention to continue casting this until the very end. So I want to make it as unpleasant as possible to take me out. If you have any comments, if you want to see anything in future videos, my first video came out today. So I am recording this several hours after day change, and I've gotten great response, and I appreciate all of your support. Let me know if there's anything that you'd like me to point out further. Until next time, Soli Deo Gloria, and I'll see you next time.